So a little video, thought I'd just share what I've been doing or what I've been working on the last couple of winters for a bit of heating in here. As the title suggests, using the Chinese heaters to heat my workshop, and as you can see, it's a pretty big space. It's quite tall ceilings, asbestos and tin roof. Really difficult to keep warm in the winter. It's thick fog outside. It's probably, let me get the thermometer and check. So yeah, it's about 8 degrees in here typically at the minute. The floor there, 9 degrees. And then let's have a look at this wall over here. Yeah, 8.5 degrees. So it's cold enough. It's chilly sort of day. Thick fog outside. Late in the afternoon. We're all worried about energy bills and keeping warm in the winter and looking at new ways to do it. So I bought one of these. Well, actually, I bought two of these, like, packaged the Chinese diesel heaters. So it's an all-in-one box, really. I don't know why they have a carry handle on them, because you really need to fasten them down in place. But it's got the fuel tank in it. You just put fuel into that. You've got your air pipe in underneath and your exhaust out underneath. But what I did was, so I've got the hot air, your clean warm air coming out, which is lovely. Doesn't make a huge difference in here, but it is nice if you stood in front of it. There's another one just down there, so at least when you're really cold you can stand in front of it. And it does, if you crank them up. I mean, they're both just ticking over the really low settings at the minute, but, well, on the minimum setting, just tickles a bit of warm air in here. It makes a bit of a difference. But what I did was, instead of, when I was looking at where I was going to run the exhaust to get it through that wall, which is an outside wall, I had a little brain fart, or a brain wave of some sorts, and I've actually piped the exhaust into the bench. So that bench is just 50mm box section, runs the full length of the workshop, and I thought, well, why not pipe the exhaust into the bench, because that's going to be warm air or hot air. So you can hear it if you listen at this end. It's not capped off, which I never smelt it. Sometimes when they start up they can be a bit smoky and you can see it coming out the ends of the bench, but it's so sort of drafty and airy in here that the diesel fumes coming out of there are not an issue for me at all. It would be ideal to sort of cap the bench off, so that they're blowing outside, because the other thing I had to do when I first piped the exhausts into the bench, which was great, I was having issues with water build-up, condensation. Obviously the exhaust generates a bit of moisture, and particularly in a nice cold steel bench like that, I was getting a lot of moisture building up, and the heater down at that end would start gurgling. The exhaust would actually start gurgling in, it was just filling up with water. So what I did was I had to put a couple of drains in. So they are piped, the exhaust is going outside, but that's now a drain pipe, which I just drilled a hole in the wall and went straight through the wall, straight outside. So the exhaust from the heater is coming, you can see it coming out the heater, going up into the bench, and then that exhaust to outside is really more of a water drain than an exhaust, because the beauty of doing that is all that wasted heat, which would normally be going straight outside, is, if we put the thermometer on the bench there, we've got a heated bench. And I mean, what I'd really like to do is cap off this bench and make it one big loop before just having the two pipes running outside for the drain and for the exhaust gases to go outside, and to stop any exhaust gases coming into the workshop. It'd be really nice if I'd thought about this years ago when I sort of built the bench. I'd have looped it and made one big loop all the way around so the gases would flow around. So the gases are flowing through the front part of the bench at the minute. Let's move up here, see what sort of temp we're going up here. So we're getting like 20 degrees there. Nice warm bench. And obviously that's now acting as a big radiator because it's a big steel bench. So basically my whole bench has become a big radiator. The only thing I find is the gases when you've got both heaters running, or regardless whether there's one running or both running, the exhaust gases seem to prefer to run one way, so your heat will go one way, not both ways, which I'm sure there's some physics reason behind that. But look at how hot it is where the exhaust actually goes into the bench. 50 degrees, it's like too hot to touch that. Let's have a look at this way. Yeah, so it's cooler there. It's almost the same temperature as the rest of the building because the gases are going that way for whatever reason. Whereas, let's have a look at this one. They've both been running for a few hours now, so the bench is lovely and warm in the right spot. Let's have a look to this side. 10, 11, so it doesn't seem to be running that way. Let's go this side. 15, 17, 11, 8, fades out that way. So go right there. See, if I hadn't have all this stuff piled up on the bench, I'd have a lovely warm 40 degree sort of bench there. It's mint. So yeah, I see a lot of people asking about it. I see a lot of people sort of thinking of new ways, new things to do with these diesel heaters. I think I only paid about 75 quid each, English pounds that is. So really cheap heaters, pump out nice warm air out the front, and all those exhaust gases that would just go outside and get wasted are going into the bench. So if I was to start all over again, that's how I would design it. I would design the bench to be one big loop with a couple of drains for the moisture and the gases to go outside, but potentially you could have those warm gases flowing circular all the way around the bench and heating up as much of the bench as you can and using as much of that heat as you can before it goes outside cold. So yeah, if you're thinking about doing it, thinking about putting them in your garage or in your shed, why not make a little steel bench and pipe the exhaust gases through the bench and get yourself a heated bench? It's awesome.